He didn't look at maid number 1. Or 5. Or 12. Or 25. To Kang Minho, the staff in his $40 million Seoul penthouse were furniture, polished, silent, forgettable. Until maid number 26 walked in. Amara didn't bow. She didn't tremble. She didn't avert her gaze like everyone else who feared the man who ruled half the city from the shadows. She looked him in the eye. And she smiled. Not nervous. Not seductive. Just warm. A kind of warmth a man like him was never supposed to feel. Minho froze. The Kang Minho, Seoul's ice-veined crime lord, the man who didn't flinch during assassinations or billion-won negotiations, forgot how to breathe because one maid dared to see him. The folder slipped from his hand. His security chief startled. His lieutenant blinked. Even the cleaning supervisor nearly fainted, because the untouchable king of Gangnam had just been touched by a smile. What Amara didn't know was that men like Minho didn't get crushes. They got obsessions. And what Minho didn't know was that some smiles are more dangerous than guns. Welcome to K-Empire Diaries, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. The moment stretched like pulled glass. Amara stood in the doorway of Kang Minho's private office, a bucket of cleaning supplies in one hand, completely unaware that she'd just detonated something inside the most dangerous man in Seoul. She wore the standard uniform, crisp white blouse, black skirt, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. But there was something about her that made the uniform look like a costume she'd borrowed from someone else's life. The way she carried herself, shoulders back, chin lifted just enough to suggest she knew her worth even if the world hadn't figured it out yet. Minho stared at her. Actually stared. His security chief, Do Hyun, shifted uncomfortably near the window, hand instinctively moving toward the weapon concealed beneath his jacket. In the 3 years Do Hyun had protected Minho, he'd never seen his boss react to anything with visible surprise. Minho was a glacier. Immovable. Unreadable. Until now. "I'm sorry, sir," the cleaning supervisor stammered from behind Amara, her face pale with terror. "She's new. She doesn't know the rules yet. I told her you were in a meeting, but she—" "It's fine." Minho's voice came out rougher than he intended. He cleared his throat, forcing his expression back into its usual mask of cold indifference. "Leave us." The supervisor's eyes went wide. "Sir? Everyone out. Now." Do Hyun hesitated. "Boss, you have the call with Busan in 10 minutes. Cancel it." "But—" Did I stutter? Do Hyun knew better than to argue. He jerked his head toward the door, and the supervisor practically ran from the room. The door clicked shut, leaving Minho alone with the woman who'd somehow managed to crack the foundation of his carefully constructed world with nothing more than a smile. Amara set down her cleaning supplies, unbothered by the tension crackling through the air. "I really am sorry," she said, her Korean flawless despite the slight American accent that wrapped around certain syllables. "Mrs. Cho said this office needed to be cleaned before noon, and I didn't realize you were. What's your name?" She blinked at the interruption. "Amara. Amara Okafor. Nigerian. American, but yes, my parents are from Nigeria." She tilted her head, studying him with an openness that made him feel exposed. "You're Kang Minho." It wasn't a question. Of course she knew who he was. Everyone in Seoul knew who he was, even if they pretended not to. "And you're not afraid of me." "Should I be?" The question landed like a challenge. Minho found himself standing without meaning to, closing the distance between them in 3 long strides. She didn't retreat, didn't flinch, just watched him with those warm brown eyes that seemed to see straight through the armor he'd spent 15 years building. "Most people are," he said quietly. "Most people haven't seen you drop a folder because someone smiled at you." Heat crawled up the back of his neck. Was she mocking him? No. There was no malice in her expression, just genuine curiosity mixed with something that looked almost like amusement. When was the last time someone had dared to be amused by him? You noticed that. Kind of hard to miss. Amara bent down to pick up the scattered papers, her movements graceful and unhurried. "Financial reports, looks like. I won't tell anyone the great Kang Minho has butterfingers." He should have been angry. Should have reminded her of her place, her position in his home. The fact that she was speaking to a man who could end her with a single phone call. Instead, he found himself reaching for the papers at the same time she did. Their fingers brushed. The contact lasted less than a second, but Minho felt it everywhere. A jolt of electricity that started at his fingertips and spread through his entire body like wildfire. Amara felt it too. He could tell by the way her breath caught, the slight widening of her eyes, the flush that crept across her cheeks. She pulled her hand back quickly, clutching the papers to her chest. "I should go," she said, but she didn't move. "Why did you smile at me?" The question came out before Minho could stop it. Vulnerability wasn't something he showed. Ever. But here he was asking this woman, this stranger, why she'd looked at him like he was human instead of a monster. Amara's expression softened. "Because you looked like you needed someone to." The honesty in her voice broke something open inside him. Minho had money, power, control over half the criminal underground in South Korea. He had politicians in his pocket and enemies who feared him more than death itself. But he couldn't remember the last time someone had looked at him and thought he needed kindness. "I don't need anything," he lied. "Everyone needs something." Amara handed him the papers, careful not to let their fingers touch again. Even men who pretend they're made of ice. She picked up her cleaning supplies and headed for the door. Minho watched her go, his mind racing, his chest tight with something he refused to name. She reached for the door handle, and panic flared through him. An actual, genuine panic that she was about to walk out and he might never see her again. "Amara." She turned back, eyebrows raised. "Come back tomorrow. Same time. To clean. To talk." She studied him for a long moment, weighing something he couldn't read. Then she smiled again, and Minho felt the world tilt sideways. "Okay," she said simply. After she left, Minho stood in the empty office, staring at the door like it might give him answers. His phone buzzed. Do-hyun's name flashed on the screen. "The Busan situation is escalating," Do-hyun said when Minho answered. "Kim Sejong is making moves. We need to respond." "Handle it." "Boss, this requires your direct." "I said handle it." Minho ended the call and walked to the window overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Somewhere out there, Amara was going about her day, completely unaware that she'd just become the most important person in his world. And the most dangerous. Because Kang Minho didn't do halfway. He didn't do casual interest or passing attraction. When he wanted something, he took it, owned it, protected it with everything he had. The question was whether Amara Okafor knew what she'd just walked into, or if she'd run when she found out. The next morning arrived with the kind of anticipation Minho hadn't felt since he was a teenager, and he hated himself for it. He'd built an empire on control, on the ability to compartmentalize emotion and make decisions based purely on strategy and power. Yet here he was, rearranging his entire morning schedule around a conversation with a maid. He'd been in his office since dawn, pretending to review contracts while actually watching the door. When the knock finally came at exactly the same time as yesterday, his heart did something it had no business doing. "Come in." Amara entered, and Minho's breath caught the same way it had 24 hours ago. She wore the same uniform, but her hair was different today, loose around her shoulders in thick, natural curls that framed her face. She looked beautiful. Dangerously beautiful. "You wanted to talk?" She closed the door behind her, a small gesture that felt significant. "Sit." Minho gestured to the chair across from his desk. "I'd rather stand, if that's okay. Mrs. Cho has me on a tight schedule. Mrs. Cho answers to me. That may be true, but she's terrifying in ways you're not." The corner of Minho's mouth twitched. Was that almost a smile? He couldn't remember the last time his face had attempted one. "How long have you been in Korea?" 3 months. "Working as a maid." Amara's expression tightened slightly. "Is there something wrong with that? You're American. Educated, clearly. Why are you cleaning houses in Seoul? Why are you interrogating your staff?" The deflection was smooth, practiced. Minho recognized the technique, because he used it himself. Whatever brought Amara to Korea, whatever she was running from or toward, she wasn't ready to share it. "Not yet." "Fair enough." He stood, moving around the desk. Amara tracked his movement, but didn't retreat, even when he stopped close enough to catch the faint scent of cocoa butter and something sweet he couldn't identify. "Tell me something true, then." "Anything." She considered the request, her eyes searching his face like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "I wasn't supposed to be on this floor yesterday. Mrs. Cho assigned me to the lower levels, but I got turned around in the hallways. Your penthouse is like a maze. And you just happened to walk into my office. The door was open. I saw you sitting there, and you looked." She trailed off, biting her lower lip. "What?" "Lonely." The word hit Minho like a physical blow. Lonely. Such a simple word for such a complex feeling. One he'd spent years pretending didn't exist. He had associates, employees, people who feared and respected him. But friends? Companionship? Someone who saw him as something other than a weapon or a bank account. "I'm not lonely," he said, the lie tasting bitter. "Okay." Amara didn't argue, didn't push. She just accepted his denial with the same easy grace she seemed to approach everything with. The silence between them stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Minho found himself studying her, really looking at her in a way he rarely looked at anyone. The curve of her cheek, the intelligence in her eyes, the way she held herself like she was ready for anything. She was curvy in a way that made his hands itch to touch, to map the soft lines of her body, to discover if she felt as warm as she looked. The thought shocked him. Minho had bedded women before, beautiful women who threw themselves at him for his money or power. But this was different. This wasn't just physical attraction, though God knew that was there too. This was something deeper, something that terrified him because he couldn't control it. "Have dinner with me," he said suddenly. Amara's eyebrows shot up. "I'm sorry. Tonight. Have dinner with me. Mr. Kang, I don't think." "Minho. Call me Minho." She shook her head, a small smile playing at her lips. "I can't have dinner with you." "Why not?" "Because you're my employer. I'll fire you." "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." Minho stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. "Have dinner with me, Amara. One meal. If you hate it, I'll never ask again. And if I don't, then we'll figure it out from there." She studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Minho waited, every muscle in his body tense. He'd negotiated multi-million-dollar deals, stared down men twice his size, survived attempts on his life without breaking a sweat. But waiting for this woman's answer felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. "One dinner," Amara finally said. "But somewhere normal. Not some fancy restaurant where people take pictures." Relief flooded through him. "Deal. And you have to promise this isn't some weird power play thing." "It's not. Because I've met men like you before, Mr. Kang. Men who think money and power mean they can. I'm not those men." Minho's voice came out harder than he intended, but he needed her to understand this. "I don't play games, Amara. I don't manipulate. If I want something, I'm direct about it. And I want to have dinner with you. That's all." The honesty seemed to surprise her. She nodded slowly. "Okay. One dinner. Tonight. 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. I'll meet you." "Where?" Minho pulled out his phone and typed an address. "A place in Itaewon. Quiet. Private. Good food." Amara's phone buzzed with the location. She glanced at it, then back at him. "This better not be some weird underground fight club or something. It's a restaurant. I promise." "Fine. 7 o'clock. She moved toward the door, then paused. "For the record, I still think this is a terrible idea." Noted. After she left, Minho stood in the center of his office, heart pounding, mind racing. What the hell was he doing? He had enemies everywhere, people who would kill to find a weakness in his armor. And he was about to take a woman he barely knew, a woman who worked in his house, to dinner like some lovesick teenager. His phone buzzed. Do-hyun's name appeared on the screen again. "We have a problem," Do-hyun said without preamble. "The Busan crew hit one of our warehouses last night. 3 men dead." The news should have consumed Minho's attention. Should have sent him into strategic mode, planning retaliation and damage control. Instead, all he could think about was what Amara might wear to dinner. "Boss, are you listening? Triple security on all locations. Move the inventory from Warehouse 7 to the backup site. And find out who Kim Sejong's new backer is. Someone's funding this escalation. Already on it. You sound distracted." "I'm fine. You're never distracted." Do-hyun paused. "This is about the maid, isn't it?" Minho's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone." "Boss, I'm not judging. But you need to be careful. If word gets out that you're interested in someone, she becomes a target. Then make sure word doesn't get out." "Minho, I know the risks. I'll handle it." He ended the call before Do-hyun could argue further. The truth was he did know the risks. Better than anyone. His world was violence and betrayal, shadows and blood. Bringing Amara into it, even for one dinner, was dangerous. But as Minho stood there, remembering the way she'd smiled at him, the way she'd looked at him like he was worth seeing, he realized something that should have terrified him. He didn't care about the danger. Not if it meant spending an evening with her. Amara stared at her reflection in the tiny bathroom mirror of the apartment she shared with 2 other housekeepers. What was she doing? She'd come to Korea to escape complications, to start over somewhere her past couldn't find her. And now she was getting ready for dinner with a man who was clearly dangerous, clearly powerful, and clearly interested in her in a way that should have sent her running. "You look beautiful," Chioma said from the doorway. Her roommate leaned against the frame, arms crossed, expression skeptical. "Too beautiful for a maid going to dinner with her boss." "It's not like that." "Amara, honey, it's exactly like that. That man looked at you like you were oxygen, and he'd been drowning." Amara smoothed down the simple black dress she'd pulled from the back of her closet. It was the only nice thing she owned, bought on sale back in Chicago when she'd had a different life, different dreams. "It's just dinner. With Kang Minho. Do you know who he is?" "I know he's rich. He's not just rich, he's dangerous. Like actually dangerous. People don't cross him. People who do cross him disappear." Amara's hands stilled on her hair. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying be careful. Men like that don't do casual. They don't do simple. If he's interested in you, there's a reason, and it's probably not a good one." The warning settled in Amara's chest like a stone. Chioma was right. She knew Chioma was right. But when she thought about Minho, about the way he'd looked at her in his office that morning, she didn't see a predator. She saw something else. Something lonely and lost and desperate for connection. Maybe she was projecting. Maybe she was seeing what she wanted to see because she was lonely too. "I'll be careful," Amara promised. "Text me every hour. If I don't hear from you by midnight, I'm calling the police." "That's dramatic." "That's smart." Amara grabbed her small purse and headed for the door. The restaurant Minho had chosen was in Itaewon, about 30 minutes by subway. She deliberately told him she'd meet him there, needing the space to clear her head, to remind herself that this was probably a mistake. But as the train rattled through Seoul's underground, as the city lights blurred past the windows, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that she was heading toward something that would change everything. For better or worse, she had no idea. The restaurant was tucked down a narrow alley, easy to miss if you didn't know where to look. Soft light spilled from the windows, and Amara could see through the glass that it was small, intimate, with maybe 10 tables total. Not the kind of place she'd expected a man like Minho to choose. He was waiting outside, dressed in dark jeans and a simple black sweater that somehow made him look more dangerous than the expensive suits probably did. When he saw her approaching, something shifted in his expression. Softened. "You came," he said. "You sound surprised." "I wasn't sure you would." Amara stopped in front of him, close enough to see the tension in his shoulders, the uncertainty in his eyes. "I keep my promises." "Good to know." Minho opened the restaurant door, gesturing for her to enter. "After you." Inside, the owner greeted Minho with a familiarity that suggested he came here often. An older woman, kind-faced, who looked at Amara with open curiosity before leading them to a table in the back corner. Private, but not isolated. "This place is nice," Amara said as they sat down. "My mother used to bring me here when I was a kid. Before she died. The admission was quiet, offered like a gift." Amara accepted it carefully. "I'm sorry. It was a long time ago." Minho poured her water from the pitcher on the table. "Tell me about Chicago. What makes you think I'm from Chicago?" "Your accent. The way you said Mrs. Cho yesterday. You're from the Midwest." Amara smiled despite herself. "South Side. Born and raised." "What brought you to Seoul?" The question she'd been dreading. Amara took a sip of water, buying time. A fresh start. Running from something or toward something? Both. Neither. "I don't know." She set down the glass, meeting his eyes. "What about you? Why does the great Kang Minho want to have dinner with his maid?" "Because you smiled at me." "That's it. That's everything." Minho leaned forward, his intensity focused entirely on her. "Do you know how many people smile at me, Amara? Real smiles, not the fake ones people wear when they want something? 0. You're the first person in 15 years to look at me and see something worth smiling at." The rawness in his voice caught her off guard. This wasn't seduction. This wasn't a line. This was honest, painful truth from a man who probably never told anyone the truth about anything. "I find that hard to believe," Amara said softly. "Believe it." Minho's hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching hers. "I've spent most of my life making people afraid of me. It's safer that way. Easier. But you weren't afraid. Maybe I should be. Probably. But I'm glad you're not." The owner returned with food Minho must have ordered ahead of time. Traditional Korean dishes Amara didn't recognize, but the smells were incredible. As they ate, the conversation flowed easier than it should have. Minho asked about her life in Chicago, her family, her dreams. Amara found herself telling him things she hadn't planned to share, about her mother who'd passed 2 years ago, about the scholarship to study international relations she'd lost when her father got sick, about coming to Korea on a whim because she needed to be somewhere that wasn't filled with memories. "You're overqualified to be cleaning houses," Minho observed. "Maybe. But it pays the bills while I figure out what's next." What if what's next could be something more? Amara set down her chopsticks. "Minho, I'm not proposing anything inappropriate. I'm saying you're smart, capable, wasting your potential scrubbing floors." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I have businesses, legitimate ones, that could use someone with your background. International relations, you said? I have holdings across Asia that need someone who understands cultural nuance, someone who can negotiate across borders. You want to offer me a job. I want to offer you an opportunity." It was tempting. God, it was tempting. But Amara knew better than to accept charity dressed up as opportunity. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because this, whatever this is between us, complicates things. If I work for you in a real capacity, if I accept your help, I owe you. And I can't afford to owe someone like you." Miho's expression hardened. "Someone like me? You know what I mean." "I don't actually." "Tell me." Amara took a breath, steadying herself. "My roommate warned me about you. Said you're dangerous, that people who cross you disappear. Is it true?" The question hung in the air between them. Minho could have lied, could have deflected. Instead, he met her eyes and gave her the same honesty she'd given him. "Yes, it's true." "Then you understand why I can't get involved with you. Why this dinner is a bad idea. Why whatever you're offering, I can't accept it. I understand why you think that. But you're wrong." "About what?" "About me being dangerous to you." Miho's hand finally closed the distance, his fingers brushing hers. The contact sent electricity through her entire body. "I would never hurt you, Amara. Never. The things I've done, the person I am in my world, that's not who I want to be with you. People don't just change because they want to. No, but they change when they have a reason to. You could be my reason." The words settled into Amara's chest, warm and terrifying. She should pull her hand away. Should stand up, walk out, go back to her safe, uncomplicated life of cleaning and hiding. But she didn't move. Couldn't move. "This is crazy," she whispered. "Probably. We barely know each other. Then let's change that." Miho's thumb traced small circles on the back of her hand. "Give me a chance, Amara. Let me show you I'm more than what people say about me. And if you're not, then you walk away. I won't stop you. Won't follow you. Won't make things difficult." He paused, his eyes searching hers. "But I think you feel this too. Whatever this is. Tell me I'm wrong." Amara wanted to lie. Wanted to protect herself. But sitting there, with his hand warm against hers, with his eyes seeing straight through every wall she'd built, she couldn't. "You're not wrong," she admitted. Miho's smile was slow, devastating. "Then stay. Just a little longer." So she did. They talked until the restaurant owner gently reminded them it was closing time. Minho walked Amara to the subway station, his hand finding hers in the darkness like it belonged there. At the entrance, they stopped. "Thank you for tonight," Amara said. "Thank you for giving me a chance. I haven't decided yet." "I know, but you didn't run. That's something." Amara looked up at him, at this dangerous, powerful man who somehow made her feel safer than she'd felt in months. "What happens now?" "Now I take you to dinner again. And again. Until you trust me enough to believe I mean what I say. And then," Minho cupped her face in his hands, the gesture so tender it made her chest ache. "And then we figure out how to make this work. Together." He didn't kiss her, though Amara could see the want in his eyes. Instead, he pressed his forehead to hers, breathing her in like she was something precious. "Go home," he said quietly. "Text me when you get there. You don't have my number." Minho pulled out his phone and handed it to her. Amara added her contact information, trying not to notice how her hands shook. When she handed it back, he immediately sent her a message. Her phone buzzed. Just 3 words. "Sweet dreams, Amara." She smiled despite herself. "Good night, Minho." Walking down into the subway, Amara felt like she was leaving something important behind. Or maybe walking towards something she didn't know she'd been looking for. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and secret dinners. Minho was careful, meeting Amara away from the penthouse, away from prying eyes and dangerous questions. But careful didn't mean distant. He texted her constantly, good morning messages that made her smile, random observations about his day, late-night conversations that stretched until dawn. You're glowing, Chioma observed one morning as Amara got ready for work. It's disgusting. I am not glowing. You absolutely are. You're doing that thing where you smile at your phone like it just proposed. Amara tried to school her expression, failed miserably. We're just talking. For 3 weeks. Every day. That's not just talking, that's dating. Maybe it was. Amara had stopped trying to define what was happening between her and Minho. All she knew was that every time she saw him, every time they talked, she discovered something new. He was brilliant, terrifyingly so, with a mind that moved 3 steps ahead of everyone else. He was generous in ways that had nothing to do with money. Remembering small details she mentioned, asking about her father's health, sending her articles he thought she'd find interesting. But he was also still dangerous. Still the man who ran an empire built on fear and control. The contradiction should have sent her running. Instead, it made her want to understand him more. Her phone buzzed. Minho, can you get away tonight? Amara, I have the late shift. Mrs. Cho has me cleaning the East Wing. Minho, I'll reassign you. Amara, you can't keep doing that. People are going to notice. Minho, let them notice. Amara's heart did that stupid fluttering thing it had been doing a lot lately. She shouldn't love how possessive he was getting, how he treated her schedule like a negotiable obstacle. But she did. Amara, where? Minho, my place. I'll cook. Amara, you cook? Minho, don't sound so surprised. I have skills beyond intimidation. Amara, this I have to see. Minho, 7 p.m. Don't be late. Amara stared at the message. His place. She'd been working in his penthouse for almost 2 months, but had never been there as anything other than staff. This was different. This was crossing a line they'd been dancing around since that first dinner. Amara, okay. But if you poison me, Chioma knows where I am. Minho noted. I'll make sure the antidote is readily available. She was still smiling when Mrs. Cho found her in the hallway. Miss Okafor, you've been reassigned for tonight. Oh, Mr. Kang's orders. You're to report to his private residence at 7. Mrs. Cho's expression was carefully neutral, but Amara caught the question in her eyes. Should I ask why? I wouldn't know, ma'am. Mrs. Cho studied her for a long moment. Be careful, child. Men like Mr. Kang, they're not built for softness. I know. Do you? The older woman's voice dropped. I've worked for him for 5 years. I've seen him be generous, protective even. But I've also seen what he does to people who betray him, to people he considers threats. I'm not a threat. Everyone's a threat until they prove otherwise. In his world, trust is earned in blood. Mrs. Cho touched Amara's arm gently. I'm not saying this to frighten you. I'm saying it because I see the way he looks at you. Like you're something precious. And precious things in his world tend to get broken. The warning settled into Amara's bones. She knew Mrs. Cho was right. Had known from the beginning that getting involved with Minho was dangerous. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it in your gut were different things. I'll be careful, Amara promised. See that you are. At exactly 7 o'clock, Amara stood outside Minho's private entrance, the one that led directly to his personal quarters. Her hands were shaking. She'd changed 3 times, finally settling on jeans and a soft sweater that made her feel like herself instead of someone trying to be impressive. The door opened before she could knock. Minho stood there, barefoot, wearing dark jeans and a white t-shirt that somehow made him look both more approachable and more dangerous. His hair was slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked at her like she was the only thing in the world worth seeing. Hi, Amara said, suddenly shy. Hi. Minho stepped aside. Come in. His private space was different from the rest of the penthouse. Less sterile, more lived in. Books lined the walls, actual paper books that looked read and reread. Art hung on the walls, pieces that seemed chosen for meaning rather than value. There was a piano in the corner, sheet music scattered across the top. You play? Amara asked. When I can't sleep. Which is often. Minho closed the door behind her. Can I get you something to drink? Wine. Water. Water's good. While he went to the kitchen, Amara wandered, studying the space. There was a photo on a side table, faded with age. A woman who looked like Minho, same eyes, same serious expression, holding a young boy who was actually smiling. My mother, Minho said from behind her, making her jump. I was 6. It's the last photo I have of us together. She was beautiful. She was everything. He handed Amara the water, his fingers lingering against hers. She died when I was 8. Car accident. At least, that's what they told me. You don't believe it? I didn't then. I do now. Sometimes accidents are just accidents. Miho gestured toward the kitchen. Come on. I actually did make dinner. Or attempted to. The kitchen was surprisingly cozy, warm light spilling over marble counters where ingredients were laid out with almost military precision. Whatever Miho was making smelled incredible. Bulgogi, he explained. It was my mother's recipe. I can't promise it's as good as hers, but I've been practicing. Amara watched him move through the kitchen with the same focused intensity he brought to everything. Chopping vegetables, adjusting the heat, tasting and adjusting seasoning. It was intimate, watching him like this. Domestic in a way that made her chest feel tight. Can I help? She asked. Can you cook? My mother taught me. I make a mean jollof rice. Miho smiled, the real smile that transformed his entire face. Maybe next time you can teach me. Next time. The casual assumption that there would be a next time, and another after that, made Amara's heart race. They cooked together, moving around each other in the small space. Miho's hand on her lower back as he reached for a pan. Amara's fingers brushing his as she handed him ingredients. Every touch was deliberate, charged with something that made the air between them crackle. Tell me something, Miho said as they sat down to eat. Something true. Something you've never told anyone else. Amara took a bite, considering. I came to Korea to disappear. From what? From myself, I think. After my mom died, after I lost my scholarship, I felt like I was drowning in Chicago. Every street had a memory, every corner had a ghost. I needed to be somewhere that didn't know me, didn't expect anything from me. And has it worked? The disappearing? Not exactly. Turns out you can't run from yourself. You just end up alone in a different country. Miho reached across the table, taking her hand. You're not alone anymore. Aren't I? Miho, we both know this thing between us. Whatever it is, it exists in a bubble. In here, it's safe. But out there? She gestured toward the windows, toward the city below. Out there, I'm still just a maid and you're still a man people are terrified of. Do you believe that? That you're just a maid? What else would I be? Mine. The word hung in the air between them. Possessive, claiming absolute. Amara's breath caught. You can't just decide that. I'm not deciding. I'm stating a fact. Miho stood, pulling her up with him. From the moment you smiled at me, from the moment you looked at me like I was human instead of a monster, you became mine, Amara. And I became yours. Everything else is just details we need to work out. That's insane. Probably. But it's true. He cupped her face in his hands, thumbs tracing her cheekbones. Tell me you don't feel it. Tell me when you're with me, you don't feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Amara wanted to lie. Wanted to protect herself, maintain distance, stay safe. But standing there, with Miho looking at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life, she couldn't. I feel it, she whispered. Then stop fighting it. Stop fighting us. What if I can't survive your world? What if you're the only thing that can save me from it? The vulnerability in his voice broke her. Amara reached up, threading her fingers through his hair, pulling him down until their foreheads touched. This is crazy, she breathed. I know. We're going to get hurt. Maybe. But at least we'll feel something. Miho's hands slid down her sides, settling on her waist. I've been numb for 15 years, Amara. Since the day I realized my mother's accident might not have been an accident. Since the day I decided that feeling anything was a weakness I couldn't afford. But you make me feel everything. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet. But I know I don't want to stop. Amara tilted her head back, meeting his eyes. Kiss me. Miho's control snapped. He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air, deep and desperate and devastating. Amara's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, needing more. He tasted like sin and salvation, like everything she shouldn't want and everything she needed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Miho pressed his forehead to hers. Stay, he whispered. Tonight. Stay with me. Miho, not for that. Just stay. Let me hold you. Let me prove this is real. Every rational part of Amara screamed that this was a mistake. But the part of her that had been lonely for so long, the part that craved connection and warmth and someone who saw her, that part won. Okay, she said. I'll stay. They ended up on the couch, Amara tucked against Miho's side, his arm wrapped around her like he was afraid she might disappear. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He told her about building his empire, about the choices he'd made, the things he'd done that still haunted him. She told him about her dreams of working in international relations, about the scholarship she'd lost, about feeling like she'd let her mother down. You didn't let her down, Minho said quietly. Life happened. Circumstances happened. But you're still here, still fighting, still trying to build something better. That's not failure, says the man who built an empire. Built it on blood and fear. That's not something to be proud of. Then why do it? Minho was quiet for a long moment. Because when you're 8 years old and your mother dies and your father drinks himself to death a year later, you learn that the world is cruel. That softness gets you killed. That the only way to survive is to be harder, colder, more ruthless than everyone else. Is that what you want? To just survive? No. He pulled her closer. Not anymore. Now I want to live. And I want to live with you. The confession made Amara's eyes sting. We barely know each other. I know you smile when you're nervous. I know you bite your lower lip when you're thinking. I know you're terrified of being a burden, which is why you won't accept help even when you need it. I know you're the strongest person I've ever met, even if you don't see it. Minho pressed a kiss to her temple. I know enough. Amara turned in his arms, studying his face. What happens tomorrow? When reality comes back. Tomorrow you quit your job as a maid. I hire you as a consultant for my international holdings. Legitimate work, legitimate pay, legitimate reason for you to be around me. People will talk. Let them. Your enemies will see me as a weakness. They'd be right. You are my weakness. Miho's hand curved around her neck, thumb brushing her pulse point. But you're also my strength. The only thing in my life that makes me want to be better. I can't save you, Minho. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking you to stand beside me while I save myself. Amara kissed him again, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, she settled back against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. One condition, she said. Anything. No more secrets. If we're doing this, really doing this, I need complete honesty. About your business, your world, the dangers I'm walking into. All of it. Minho tensed beneath her. Some things are better left unknown. Maybe. But I need to make my own choices, and I can't do that if you're hiding things to protect me. He was quiet for so long Amara thought he might refuse. Then he sighed, the sound heavy with resignation and something that might have been relief. Okay, no secrets. But not tonight. Tonight, I just want to hold you and pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. Deal. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, both knowing that morning would bring complications they weren't ready to face. But for now, in the quiet dark of Miho's apartment, they had this. And this was enough. Amara woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and Miho's arm heavy across her waist. For a moment, she let herself enjoy it, the warmth of him, the safety of being held. Then reality came crashing back. She'd spent the night with Kang Minho. In his apartment. In his arms. Stop panicking. Miho's voice was rough with sleep. I can feel you thinking from here. I'm not panicking. Liar. He pulled her closer, nuzzling into her neck. Stay. We'll have breakfast. Talk about the job offer. I need to go home. Chioma will be worried. Text her. Minho, please. The word was soft, vulnerable. Just a little longer. So she stayed. They made breakfast together, Miho's kitchen filling with the smell of coffee and eggs. It was domestic and strange and perfect. Amara kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for reality to intrude, but it didn't. Not yet. I meant what I said last night, Minho said as they ate. About the job. I have holdings across Southeast Asia that need someone with cultural insight, someone who can navigate international relationships without being tied to Korean business customs. You'd be perfect. What's the salary? 50 million won a year to start. Plus housing allowance, travel expenses, benefits. Amara nearly choked on her coffee. That was over $40,000 American. More money than she'd ever made in her life. That's too much. It's market rate for someone with your skills. I don't have experience. You have a degree in international relations. You speak 3 languages. 2.5. My Korean is still rough. 3 languages, Minho continued firmly. You understand cultural nuance in a way most people don't. And you have something more valuable than experience. You have perspective. You see things others miss. Or you're trying to take care of me. Can it be both? Amara set down her mug, studying him. If I take this job, people will assume things. That I slept my way into it. That I'm your mistress playing at being professional. Then we make sure they know you're not. How? Minho leaned forward, intensity burning in his eyes. By you being so damn good at the job that no one can question your qualifications. By me being publicly respectful of your position. By us maintaining professional boundaries in front of my staff. And in private? In private, you're mine. Completely, absolutely mine. The possessiveness should have bothered her. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in her belly. This is still crazy. Probably. But I'm not letting you go back to scrubbing floors when you could be changing the trajectory of my business. Minho stood, pulling her up with him. Say yes, Amara. Take the job. Take the chance. Take me. She should have said no. Should have walked away while she still could. But standing there, with Minho looking at her like she was the most important decision he'd ever make, Amara realized something terrifying. She didn't want to walk away. Yes, she whispered. I'll take the job. Minho's smile was brilliant, devastating. He kissed her hard and deep, a claiming that made her toes curl. When he finally let her come up for air, they were both breathing hard. You won't regret this, he promised. I better not. Her phone buzzed. Chioma's name flashed on the screen with about 15 missed calls and a string of increasingly worried texts. Chioma, where are you? Chioma, if you don't answer in the next hour, I'm calling the police. Chioma, Amara Jennifer Okafor, answer your phone. Amara quickly typed out a response. Amara, I'm fine. I'm safe. I'll explain when I get home. Chioma, you're with him, aren't you? Amara, yes. Chioma, girl. We need to talk. I really do need to go, Amara said, showing Minho the messages. I'll have my driver take you. That's not necessary. Amara. Minho cupped her face. You're important to me, which means your safety is important to me. My driver. Non-negotiable. She should have argued. Should have insisted on her independence. But the protectiveness in his voice, the genuine concern in his eyes, melted her resistance. Fine. But he drops me a block away. I'm not showing up to my apartment in a chauffeur-driven car. Deal. 20 minutes later, Amara stood outside her building, watching the sleek black car disappear into Seoul traffic. Her phone buzzed again. Minho, miss you already. Amara, it's been 5 minutes. Minho, and? Come to the office tomorrow. 10 a.m. We'll make it official. Amara, official? Minho, your new position. New contract. New life. Amara, you don't waste time. Minho, not when I know what I want. See you tomorrow. Amara climbed the stairs to her apartment, heart pounding, mind racing. When she opened the door, Chioma was waiting, arms crossed, expression somewhere between concerned and exasperated. Okay, Chioma said. Start talking. So Amara did. She told her everything, the dinners, the conversations, the way Minho looked at her like she was precious. The job offer. The night spent in his arms. When she finished, Chioma was quiet for a long moment. You're falling for him, Chioma finally said. I know. Like really falling. Not just infatuation. Actual feelings. I know. And he feels the same way? Amara thought about the vulnerability in Minho's eyes, the way he'd held her like she might disappear. Yes. I think he does. Chioma sighed. Then I guess I can't talk you out of this? Would you try? Probably should. But I won't. Chioma pulled Amara into a hug. Just promise me you'll be careful. That you'll keep your eyes open. That if things get dangerous, you'll walk away. I promise. It was a lie, and they both knew it. Because Amara was already in too deep. Already caught in Minho's orbit. Already willing to risk everything for the chance to be with him. For better or worse, her life was about to change. And there was no going back. The next morning, Amara stood outside Kang Enterprises, staring up at the gleaming skyscraper that housed Minho's legitimate business operations. She dressed carefully, professional but not trying too hard, a navy dress that made her feel confident without being showy. Inside, the lobby was all marble and chrome, intimidatingly expensive. A receptionist looked up as Amara approached. I have an appointment with Mr. Kang, Amara said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Name? Amara Okafor. The receptionist's expression shifted subtly. Recognition, maybe curiosity. Of course. Top floor. Mr. Kang is expecting you. The elevator ride felt endless. Amara watched the numbers climb, each floor taking her further from the life she'd known, closer to something terrifying and thrilling. The doors opened to a reception area where Do-hyun was waiting. Miss Okafor. He bowed slightly. Welcome to Kang Enterprises. Thank you. The boss is in his office. He said to send you straight in. Amara followed Do-hyun down a hallway lined with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. Miho's office was at the end, double doors that Do-hyun opened without knocking. Miho stood by the windows, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Korean. When he saw Amara, his expression softened. He said something quick into the phone and ended the call. "You came," he said. "You doubted I would?" "A little." Miho crossed to her, stopping just short of touching. They weren't alone. Do-hyun was still in the doorway, and Amara could see other staff members moving through the office beyond. "You look beautiful. You look like a CEO." "Disappointed?" "No, just different." And he did. In his tailored suit, hair styled, wearing an expression of cool authority, Miho looked every inch the powerful businessman. Dangerous in a different way than when he was relaxed in his apartment. "That'll be all, Do-hyun," Miho said without looking away from Amara. The door closed, leaving them alone. "Hi," Amara said softly. "Hi." Miho closed the distance between them, pulling her into his arms. "God, I missed you. It's been 12 hours. And I meant what I texted. Every minute away from you feels too long." He kissed her, deep and claiming, and Amara melted into him. When they broke apart, she was breathing hard. "We can't do that here," she said. "Why not?" "Because I'm about to become your employee. We need boundaries." "We have boundaries. In public, we're professional. In private, you're mine." Miho led her to the couch in his office. "But you're right. When we're working, we maintain appropriate distance. No one will question your qualifications if we're careful." He handed her a folder. Inside was a contract, employment terms that were generous to the point of being ridiculous. Amara skimmed it, her heart pounding. "This is real," she said. "Did you think I was joking?" "I don't know. Part of me keeps waiting to wake up and find out this was all a dream." "It's not a dream. It's your new life. If you want it." Amara looked at the contract, then at Miho, then back at the contract. This was the moment. The point of no return. If she signed, she was committing not just to a job, but to whatever this thing was between them. To his world, his dangers, his complications. She picked up the pen. "Where do I sign?" Miho's smile was slow, satisfied. He showed her where, watching as she signed her name. When it was done, he countered, his signature bold and decisive. "Welcome to Kang Enterprises, Miss Okafor." "Thank you, Mr. Kang." The formality was strange, charged with the knowledge of everything unsaid between them. Miho stood, offering his hand. Amara took it, and electricity sparked at the contact. "I'll have Do-hyun show you to your office. We have a staff meeting at 2 to introduce you to the International Division team. Until then, get settled. If you need anything, my door is always open. Even now? When we're being professional. Especially now." Miho pulled her close one last time, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Remember, in here, you're my colleague. Out there, you're everything." Amara's office was smaller than Miho's, but still impressive. Windows overlooking the city, a desk that looked like it cost more than her yearly salary at the cleaning company, shelves waiting to be filled with her things. Do-hyun appeared in the doorway. "Your computer is set up. Login credentials are on the desk. First assignment is reviewing our expansion plans for Singapore and Vietnam. Boss wants your cultural assessment by end of week." "That's fast." He doesn't believe in wasting time. "And Miss Okafor?" Do-hyun's expression was carefully neutral. "Welcome to the team." "Thank you." After he left, Amara sank into her chair, head spinning. 24 hours ago, she was cleaning floors. Now she had an office, a title, a salary that would change her life. And a relationship with a man who was either her salvation or her destruction. Her phone buzzed. "Miho, how's the office?" Amara, intimidating. "Beautiful. Surreal." "Miho, you'll make it yours." "Dinner tonight?" "Amara, can't. Chioma made me promise to spend the evening with her. She thinks you've kidnapped me." "Miho, have I?" "Amara, maybe. Jury's still out." "Miho, tomorrow then. My place. I'll cook again." "Amara, you just want me alone." "Miho, always. But I'll settle for feeding you and talking. For now." The "for now" sent heat through her. Amara set down her phone and turned to her computer, pulling up the files Do-hyun had mentioned. Time to prove she deserved this job. Time to show Miho, and herself, that she was more than just the woman who'd smiled at him. 3 months passed in a blur of work and stolen moments. Amara threw herself into her new role with a determination that surprised even her. She analyzed market trends, built relationships with international partners, presented strategies that actually impressed Miho's notoriously difficult board members. By the end of her first quarter, even the skeptics had to admit she'd earned her position. But it was the life she built with Minho outside the office that consumed her. They were careful. During work hours, they maintained perfect professionalism. Amara called him Mr. Kang in meetings. He reviewed her reports with the same critical eye he used on everyone else. To the outside world, they were boss and employee, nothing more. But the moment the office doors closed, the moment they were alone, everything changed. Minho was insatiable in his attention. Flowers delivered to her apartment with notes that made her blush. Texts at midnight asking if she'd eaten. Showing up at her building with takeout when he knew she'd worked late. He learned everything about her. Her favorite books, the music that made her cry, the specific way she liked her coffee. He was attentive in a way that should have felt suffocating, but instead felt like being seen for the first time in her life. And Amara was falling. Hard and fast and completely. "You're different," Chioma observed one Saturday morning as they had breakfast in their apartment. "Happier." "It's annoying." "I am happy." Amara couldn't stop the smile that spread across her face. "Is that so terrible?" "No. But it's terrifying. Because what happens when this ends? Why does it have to end?" "Amara, honey, he's a crime lord. You're a consultant. This isn't a fairy tale." "Maybe it could be." Chioma sighed. "You're in deep, aren't you? So deep I can't see the surface anymore." "And he feels the same?" Amara thought about the way Minho looked at her, like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The way he held her at night, arms wrapped tight like he was afraid she'd disappear. The way he'd told her last week, in the dark quiet of his bedroom, that she was the best thing that had ever happened to him. "Yes," she said softly. "He does." Her phone buzzed. "Minho, what are you doing?" "Amara, having breakfast with Chioma." "You." "Minho, missing you." "Can I see you today?" "Amara, you saw me yesterday." "Minho, and?" "I want to see you every day. Preferably every hour." "Amara, that's obsessive." "Minho, I'm aware." "Lunch." "Amara, I can't. I promised Chioma we'd go shopping." "Minho, dinner then." "My place." 7 p.m. Non-negotiable. "Amara, so demanding." "Minho, you love it." And God help her, she did. That evening, Amara arrived at Minho's penthouse to find candles everywhere. Soft music playing. The smell of something delicious cooking. "What's all this?" she asked as Minho pulled her into his arms. 3 months, he said simply. "Since the day you smiled at me and changed everything." "You're keeping track? Of every moment with you?" "Always." Minho kissed her softly. "Come on. I made your favorite." He had. Somehow he'd learned to make jollof rice. Not quite as good as her mother's recipe, but close enough to make her eyes sting. They ate by candlelight, talking about everything and nothing, and Amara felt something settle in her chest. This was what happiness felt like. After dinner, they ended up on the couch, Amara tucked against Minho's side, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her arm. "I have to go to Singapore next week," he said quietly. "Business meetings I can't postpone." "How long?" 4 days, maybe 5. His arm tightened around her. "Come with me." Amara pulled back to look at him. "What?" "Come with me. We're expanding our tech holdings there. You could meet with the local partners, assess the cultural landscape. It's legitimate business. And at night you're mine. Completely, absolutely mine." Minho cupped her face. "I don't want to be away from you for 5 days, Amara. I can barely handle 5 hours. People will talk if we travel together. Let them talk. I don't care anymore. Minho, I'm tired of hiding this. Tired of pretending you're just my employee when you're so much more." His thumbs traced her cheekbones. "You're everything. And I want the world to know it." Amara's heart hammered against her ribs. "You're serious." "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." Minho's eyes searched hers. "I love you, Amara. I'm in love with you. I have been since the moment you smiled at me. And I'm done pretending I'm not." The world tilted. Amara stared at him, trying to process what he'd just said. Love. He loved her. "Say something," Minho whispered, vulnerability naked in his voice. "Please. I love you too." The words tumbled out, honest and terrifying. "God, Minho, I love you so much it scares me." His kiss was desperate, claiming, full of everything he couldn't say. Amara kissed him back just as fiercely, pouring 3 months of want and need and love into it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Minho pressed his forehead to hers. "Come to Singapore with me," he breathed. "Let me show the world you're mine." "Yes," Amara whispered. "Yes to everything." That night, for the first time, Amara didn't go home. She stayed with Minho, and when he carried her to his bedroom, when he laid her down like she was something precious, when he showed her with his hands and mouth and body exactly how much he loved her, Amara understood what it meant to be completely, utterly claimed. Later, wrapped in his arms, skin against skin, heartbeats sinking in the dark, she felt safe in a way she'd never felt before. "No more hiding," Minho murmured against her hair. "No more pretending. You're mine and I'm yours, and everyone's going to know it. Your enemies will see me as a target. Then I'll protect you. With everything I have, I'll keep you safe. What if loving me makes you weak?" Minho pulled back, tilting her chin up until she met his eyes. "Loving you makes me stronger. Because now I have something worth protecting. Something worth being better for." "I'm scared," Amara admitted. "Me too. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. "We'll figure it out. Together." "Together," Amara echoed. She fell asleep in his arms, both of them believing that love would be enough. Neither knowing the storm that was coming. Monday morning, the announcement went out. Amara Okafor and CEO Kang Minho would be traveling to Singapore together for a week of business meetings. The email was professional, outlined the legitimate business purposes, gave no indication of anything personal. But people weren't stupid. Within hours, whispers started. The staff who'd seen the way Minho looked at Amara, the way he'd changed since she arrived. The rumors that had been simmering for months suddenly boiled over. "Let them talk," Minho said when Amara showed up at his office, anxiety written all over her face. "Their opinions don't matter. What about the board? What about your business partners who won't take me seriously if they think I'm just your girlfriend? Then you prove them wrong, like you've been doing for 3 months." Minho pulled her close, not caring that his office had glass walls, that anyone could see. "I'm not ashamed of loving you, Amara. I won't hide it. I'm not asking you to hide. I'm asking you to be strategic. I am being strategic. By claiming you publicly, I'm sending a message. That you're under my protection. That anyone who wants to hurt me goes through you, which means they go through me first." The logic was sound, but it still made Amara's stomach twist. "You're painting a target on my back. I'm erasing any doubt about your importance. In my world, that's safer than ambiguity." Before Amara could respond, Doohyun knocked and entered without waiting for permission. His expression was grim. "We have a problem." Minho's demeanor shifted instantly. "What kind of problem?" "Kim Sejong. He's making noise about the Singapore deal. Says you're moving into territory that's been neutral ground." "It is neutral ground. That's why we're expanding there. He's taking it as a declaration of war." Doohyun glanced at Amara, hesitated. "Should we discuss this privately?" "No." Minho's hand found Amara's, fingers lacing together. "She stays. She's part of this now." Doohyun's eyebrows rose, but he continued. "Kim is threatening retaliation. Says if you go through with the Singapore expansion, he'll hit one of our operations here." "Let him try." "Boss." "I said let him try. We have security on every location. Kim is posturing because he's losing ground. He wants me to back down." Minho's voice went cold. "I don't back down." Amara's hand tightened in his. This was the other Minho, the one people feared. The crime lord who'd built an empire on being more ruthless than everyone else. "Maybe we should postpone Singapore," she said quietly. Both men looked at her. "Postpone?" Minho's expression was incredulous. "Why?" "Because if going there triggers a war, maybe it's not worth it right now." "Amara, I'm serious. If Kim is looking for an excuse to escalate, why give him one?" Doohyun watched the exchange with interest. Minho's jaw tightened, and Amara could see him struggling between his instinct to never show weakness and actually considering her suggestion. "She has a point," Doohyun said carefully. "We could delay a month, let Kim make the first stupid move, then respond from a position of." "No." Minho's voice was flat. "We go to Singapore as planned. Kim doesn't dictate my schedule or my business decisions. And he sure as hell doesn't dictate when I can travel with the woman I love." The declaration hung in the air. Doohyun's eyes widened slightly. This was the first time Minho had said it out loud, in front of someone else. "Made it official." "Understood," Doohyun said after a moment. "I'll triple security for the trip. And I'll assign a protection detail to Miss Okafor effective immediately." "What?" Amara turned to Minho. "That's not necessary." "It absolutely is." Minho's tone left no room for argument. "Doohyun, assign your best team. Someone with her at all times." "Already done." "Park Ji-won." Former Special Forces, 5 years in private security, completely trustworthy. Wait, Amara interrupted. I don't need a bodyguard. I can take care of myself. I know you can. But this isn't about you. It's about the people who might try to hurt me by hurting you. Miho's hand cupped her face. Please, let me protect you. I can't lose you. The raw fear in his voice broke her resistance. Amara nodded slowly. Okay, but this bodyguard needs to be subtle. I'm not walking around with some huge guy in a suit following me everywhere. Ji-won is a woman, Do-hyun said. And she's very good at being invisible. Fine. When does she start? She's waiting outside. Of course she was. Amara sighed, recognizing when she was outmaneuvered. Park Ji-won turned out to be a petite woman in her early 30s who looked more like a yoga instructor than a bodyguard. She bowed respectfully when introduced. I'll stay out of your way, Miss Okafor, Ji-won said. Most of the time, you won't even know I'm there. But you will be there. Always. That's the job. It took some getting used to, having a shadow. But Ji-won was true to her word. She was subtle, professional, and surprisingly easy to talk to. By the end of the first day, Amara almost forgot she was being protected. Almost. That night, as Amara was leaving the office, her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. She answered without thinking. Amara Okafor? The voice was male, Korean, unfamiliar. Yes. Who is this? A friend. I wanted to warn you about Kang Minho. Ice trickled down Amara's spine. I don't know what you're talking about. You're sleeping with him. Don't deny it. Everyone knows. Goodbye. He's dangerous, Miss Okafor. Men like him, they destroy everything they touch. His mother, his father, everyone who gets close to him ends up dead. Who the hell is this? Someone who cares about your safety. Walk away while you still can, before you become another casualty in his war. The line went dead. Amara stood frozen in the lobby, phone clutched in her trembling hand. Ji-won appeared at her elbow instantly. What happened? Someone just called me. Warned me about Minho. Said everyone close to him ends up dead. Ji-won's expression hardened. Give me your phone. While Ji-won examined the call log, Amara tried to steady her breathing. The caller's words echoed in her head. Everyone who gets close to him ends up dead. Was it true? Had Minho lost people? He'd mentioned his mother's death, but he'd said it was an accident. The number's blocked, Ji-won said. But I'm sending the details to our tech team. We'll trace it. She looked at Amara carefully. Did they threaten you directly? No. Just warned me to stay away from Minho. Kim's people. Has to be. Ji-won pulled out her own phone. I need to call this in. Wait. Don't tell Minho yet. Miss Okafor. Please. I need to talk to him myself first. If you call Do-hyun, they'll go into full lockdown mode, and I'll never get a straight answer. Ji-won hesitated, clearly torn between duty and understanding. I'll give you 1 hour. Then I have to report it. Thank you. Amara went straight to Minho's penthouse. He answered the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, clearly having been relaxing. His face lit up when he saw her. Hey, I wasn't expecting. He stopped, reading her expression. What's wrong? We need to talk. Minho's jaw tightened. He stepped aside, letting her in. What happened? Amara told him about the call, watching his expression darken with every word. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. It was Kim, he finally said. Trying to scare you. Trying to drive a wedge between us. Is it true? Do people close to you end up dead? Amara, don't lie to me. You promised no secrets. Minho ran a hand through his hair, the gesture frustrated and weary. Yes, it's true. My mother died when I was 8. My father drank himself to death a year later. My uncle, who raised me, was killed when I was 16 by a rival gang. My first lieutenant, the man who taught me everything, took a bullet meant for me 5 years ago. He met her eyes, pain naked on his face. Everyone I've ever loved has died. Usually because of me. The confession hung in the air between them. Amara felt her heart crack. And you didn't think that was important to tell me? What was I supposed to say? Hey, I'm falling in love with you, but by the way, everyone I care about ends up dead. That's a hell of a sales pitch, Amara. It's the truth. The truth is I've spent 15 years keeping people at a distance specifically to avoid this. To avoid loving someone and losing them. But then you smiled at me and I couldn't help myself. Minho crossed to her, taking her hands. I know I'm dangerous. I know being with me puts you at risk. But I swear to God, I will die before I let anything happen to you. That's not comforting. It's all I have. His voice cracked. I can't promise you safety. I can't promise you easy. All I can promise is that I love you more than I've ever loved anything, and I will spend every day trying to be worthy of you. Amara stared at him, this powerful, dangerous man who was looking at her like she was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. Tell me everything, she said quietly. All of it. Every death, every enemy, every threat. I need to know what I'm walking into. So he did. For the next 2 hours, Minho laid bare 15 years of violence and loss. He told her about his uncle's murder, about the war that had followed, about building his empire on the bodies of men who'd underestimated him. He told her about the attempts on his life, the close calls, the people he'd killed in self-defense, and the ones he'd killed because they'd threatened what was his. It was brutal, honest, terrifying. And when he was done, when the weight of his past hung heavy in the room, Amara did the only thing she could do. She pulled him into her arms and held him while he shook. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered. You hear me? I'm not running. You should. Probably. But I'm not. She pulled back, cupping his face. I love you. All of you. Even the parts that scare me. And I'm not letting some anonymous phone call convince me to walk away from the best thing that's ever happened to me. Minho kissed her desperately, hands fisting in her hair, holding her like she was the only solid thing in his world. When they broke apart, both had tears on their faces. We still going to Singapore? Amara asked. Only if you want to. I want to. But Minho. Yeah. No more secrets. Ever. If something threatens us, I need to know. I promise. No more secrets. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, both knowing that the threat wasn't over. That Kim Sejong was still out there, still planning, still dangerous. But for tonight, they had each other. And that was enough. The next morning, Do Hyun confirmed what they'd suspected. The call had come from a phone registered to one of Kim's known associates. It was a warning shot, a psychological play to destabilize Minho by targeting the woman he loved. It won't work, Minho said during their emergency security meeting. We proceed with Singapore as planned. Double the security detail. I want eyes on Amara 24/7. Already arranged, Do Hyun confirmed. But boss, maybe we should consider. No, I'm not backing down. Kim wants me scared, wants me reactive. I won't give him the satisfaction. Amara sat beside Minho, watching him command the room. This was the man people feared, the strategist who'd built an empire. But she also saw the subtle tells. The way his hand kept finding hers under the table, the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes tracked to her every few minutes like he needed to confirm she was still there. He was terrified. Trying to hide it, but terrified. After the meeting, they were finally alone in his office. You don't have to do this, Amara said quietly. We can postpone Singapore. It's not worth starting a war over. Yes, it is. Minho pulled her close. Because if I back down now, Kim wins. He learns that threatening you is an effective strategy. And I will not live in a world where people think they can control me by hurting you. So you're going to Singapore to prove a point? I'm going to Singapore because it's the right business move. And I'm taking you with me because I love you and I want you by my side. His thumb traced her jaw. But I need to know you're okay with this. With the risk. I'm terrified, Amara admitted. But I'm more terrified of walking away from you. Then we face it together. Together, she echoed. The days leading up to Singapore were tense. Security was everywhere, Ji-won practically living in Amara's shadow. Minho barely let her out of his sight, finding excuses to have meetings in her office, taking her to lunch, driving her home himself instead of using his driver. You're hovering, Amara pointed out on Thursday evening. I'm being attentive. You're being paranoid. Can you blame me? Minho pulled her into his lap, burying his face in her neck. Every time you're out of my sight, I imagine 1,000 worst-case scenarios. That's not healthy. Probably not. But it's honest. Amara threaded her fingers through his hair, feeling the tension thrumming through him. We can cancel the trip. Stay here where security is tighter. No. We go. We show Kim that we're not afraid. He pulled back, meeting her eyes. But after Singapore, I'm going to end this. Permanently. The cold finality in his voice sent chills down her spine. What does that mean? It means I'm done with half measures. Kim wants a war, he'll get one. But it'll be the last one. Minho, I won't let him threaten you, Amara. I won't spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, wondering when someone's going to try to hurt you to get to me. His hands cupped her face. I'm going to eliminate the threat. All of it. You're talking about killing him. I'm talking about protecting what's mine. Amara should have been horrified, should have recoiled from the casual violence in his voice. Instead, she felt something darker. Satisfaction that he loved her enough to go to war for her. Gratitude that she mattered this much. What was happening to her? Okay, she said quietly. Okay, do what you need to do. Just come back to me. Minho kissed her hard. Always. I'll always come back to you. Friday came too quickly. Their flight to Singapore was at noon. Amara packed carefully, trying to quiet the anxiety churning in her stomach. This was supposed to be a business trip, for days of meetings and negotiations. But it felt like more. Like a line being crossed, a choice being made. Chioma helped her pack, unusually quiet. You're really going, she finally said. I'm really going. With bodyguards and security and a man who's about to start a war. Apparently. Chioma sat on the bed, watching Amara fold clothes. You love him that much? I love him more than I thought I could love anyone. Amara stopped, meeting her friend's eyes. Is that crazy? Completely. But I get it. Chioma smiled sadly. Just promise me you'll be careful. That you'll come back. I promise. At the airport, security was absurd. Do-hyun had arranged for them to use a private terminal, complete with full screening and armed guards. Ji-won stayed close to Amara, her presence a constant reminder that this wasn't a normal trip. Minho held Amara's hand through it all, his thumb tracing patterns on her skin. Having second thoughts? He asked as they boarded the private jet. Constantly. You? Never. Not about you. The flight was smooth, luxury Amara was still getting used to. Minho worked for part of it, reviewing contracts and strategy documents. But mostly, he just wanted to be close to her. They talked about everything. The Singapore meetings, the expansion plans, what they'd do if they had free time in the city. Neither mentioned Kim Sejong or the threat hanging over them. When we get back, Minho said as they began their descent into Singapore, I want to take you somewhere. Just us. No work, no security briefings, no looking over our shoulders. Where? Jeju Island. There's a house there, private beach, completely off the grid. We could disappear for a weekend. Just be together. That sounds perfect. Yeah. Miho's smile was soft, vulnerable. I want to show you who I am when I'm not being Kang Minho, crime lord and CEO. Just Minho. The man who loves you. I already know that man. Do you? I think so. He's the one who makes me breakfast. Who holds me when I can't sleep. Who looks at me like I'm the most important thing in his world. You are the most important thing in my world. Minho leaned in, kissing her softly. After this is over, after Singapore, after I deal with Kim, I want to build a life with you, Amara. A real one. What does that look like? I don't know yet. But I know it includes you waking up next to me every morning. Coming home to you every night. Maybe someday if you want a family. Amara's breath caught. You want kids? With you? Yeah. I never thought I did. Never thought I could be a father after everything. But you make me want things I never let myself imagine. Minho, we've only been together 3 months. I know. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm saying someday. When you're ready. If you're ready. He looked almost nervous. Is that crazy? Probably. Amara kissed him. But I like it anyway. They landed in Singapore to humidity and tight security. The hotel was pristine, their suite enormous. Amara barely had time to process it before they were swept into meetings. The next 3 days were intense. Negotiations with local partners, presentations to potential investors, dinners with government officials who needed to be convinced that Kang Enterprises was worth supporting. Amara shined in every meeting, her cultural insight and natural diplomacy smoothing over rough patches, building bridges Minho couldn't have built alone. You're incredible, he told her after a particularly difficult negotiation. Did you see the way Minister Chen looked at you when you referenced Singaporean history? You charmed him completely. Just doing my job. You're doing so much more than that. Minho pulled her close, not caring that they were in the hotel hallway. You're changing my entire business. Making us legitimate in ways I never could alone. We're a team. Yeah, we are. That night, their last in Singapore, they finally had time to themselves. No meetings, no dinners, just them. Minho took her to the hotel's rooftop, where he'd arranged a private dinner under the stars. It was romantic, beautiful, perfect. Thank you, Amara said. For this week. For showing me this part of your world. Thank you for being part of it. Minho reached across the table, taking her hand. I meant what I said on the plane. About building a life together. I know, but I realize I'm asking a lot. Asking you to accept my world, my dangers, my past. You are, Amara agreed. But I'm asking a lot of you too. Asking you to let me in, to trust me, to be vulnerable with someone. You make it easy. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. Minho stood, pulling her up with him. The city spread out below them, glittering and alive. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. I love you, he murmured. More than I thought I could love anything. I love you too. They stood like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, the world below them full of possibilities. Neither knowing that back in Seoul, Kim Sejong was making his move. Neither knowing that everything was about to change. The call came at 3 a.m. Seoul time, midnight in Singapore. Minho's phone exploded with noise, dragging them both from sleep. Amara watched his face change as he answered, watched him go from relaxed to deadly in the space of a heartbeat. When? His voice was ice. How many casualties? Amara sat up, heart pounding. Minho was already out of bed, pacing, naked and lethal. I don't care what it takes. Find him. And Do Hyun. He paused, his eyes finding Amara's across the room. Keep this quiet. If word gets out before I'm back in Seoul, we lose the advantage. He ended the call and stood there for a moment, back to her, every muscle tense. Minho, what happened? Kim hit one of our warehouses. The one in Incheon. He turned, and the expression on his face made her blood run cold. 4 men dead. 6 more in the hospital. Oh my God! He waited until we were out of the country. Knew our security would be split. Minho's hands curled into fists. This is my fault. I should have seen this coming. This is Kim's fault. Not yours. People died, Amara. People who worked for me, who trusted me to protect them. He grabbed his phone again. We need to go back. Now. It's the middle of the night. I don't care. I'll charter a plane if I have to. He was already pulling on clothes, moving with sharp, violent efficiency. Pack. We leave in an hour. Amara wanted to argue, wanted to tell him to slow down, to think. But she recognized the look in his eyes. This was the crime lord, the man who'd built an empire on swift, brutal retaliation. She packed. Ji-won appeared within minutes, already briefed, already ready. Do-hyun had arranged for a private jet to be fueled and waiting. By 4 a.m., they were in the air, racing back to Seoul and whatever war was waiting for them. Minho was on the phone the entire flight, speaking in rapid Korean, issuing orders. Amara caught enough to understand he was mobilizing his entire organization. Pulling people from legitimate businesses, calling in favors, preparing for something big. Minho, she said during a brief pause between calls. What are you planning? Ending this. How? He looked at her, and the coldness in his eyes made her shiver. However I have to. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have right now. He reached for her hand. When we land, Ji-won is taking you straight to my penthouse. You don't leave. You don't go anywhere. Do you understand? I'm not a prisoner. You're the woman I love, which makes you a target. Until this is over, until Kim is neutralized, you stay where I can protect you. And where will you be? Doing what needs to be done. Amara pulled her hand away. So I'm just supposed to sit at home and wait while you go to war? Yes. That's not fair. Fair doesn't matter. Safe matters. Minho's voice rose. 4 men died tonight because I underestimated Kim. I won't make that mistake with you. You stay protected. End of discussion. They didn't speak for the rest of the flight. Landing in Seoul felt like descending into a war zone. Do-hyun met them at the private terminal with 6 armed guards. His face was grim. Kim's made contact, he said as they walked to the waiting cars. He wants to meet. When? Tonight. Neutral ground. He says he wants to discuss terms. Minho laughed, the sound harsh and bitter. Terms. He kills 4 of my men and wants to discuss terms. It could be a trap. It absolutely is a trap. Minho's jaw was set. Which is why I'm going. Boss. Set it up. I'll meet him wherever he wants. But on my conditions. My security, my people, my rules. Do-hyun nodded. And Miss Okafor? Ji-won takes her to the penthouse. Full lockdown. No one in or out except authorized personnel. Amara had had enough. Stop talking about me like I'm not here. Both men turned to look at her. I understand you're trying to protect me, she continued, voice steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. But I'm not a child and I'm not helpless. If you're walking into a trap, I deserve to know the plan. The plan is I end Kim, Minho said flatly. Whatever it takes. And if he ends you first? The question hung in the air. Do-hyun tactfully moved away, giving them space. He won't, Minho said, but there was something in his voice. Uncertainty, maybe. Fear. You don't know that. Amara stepped closer, lowering her voice. You're angry. You're hurt. And you're making decisions from that place. That's how people die, Minho. People already died. And I don't want you to be next. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. I love you, which means I need you to be smart, not just ruthless. Promise me you'll be careful. For a moment, the ice in his expression cracked. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. I can't lose you, he whispered against her hair. If something happened to you because of me, because of my world, I wouldn't survive it. Then don't do anything that would take you away from me. Don't be a hero. Just end this and come home. I will. I promise. It was a promise they both knew he might not be able to keep. Ji-won drove Amara to the penthouse while Minho went with Do-hyun to prepare for the meeting with Kim. The apartment felt like a tomb, empty, cold, waiting. I'll be right outside, Ji-won said. You need anything, just call. Amara nodded, unable to speak past the fear closing her throat. Alone, she paced. Tried to work. Tried to read. Tried to do anything but imagine Minho walking into a trap. Her phone buzzed. Minho, I know you're scared. I'm scared too. Amara, then don't go. Let Do-hyun handle it. Minho, you know I can't do that. Amara, I know. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Minho, if something happens tonight. Amara, don't. Don't you dare say goodbye to me. Minho, I'm not. I'm saying I love you. And when this is over, when Kim is dealt with, I'm asking you to marry me. Amara's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. Amara, what? Minho, I was going to wait. Do it right. But I need you to know. I want forever with you, Amara. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want to build a life that's ours, not my father's, not my past's. Ours. Amara, you're proposing over text message? Minho, I'm promising over text message. The proposal will be better. I'll get down on one knee. There'll be a ring. All of it. But right now, I need you to know that you're my future. The only future I want. Tears streamed down Amara's face. Amara, you better come back to me. Minho, I will. I love you. Amara, I love you too. So much. Minho, save your answer for when I can ask you properly. Amara, it's already yes. Minho, yeah? Amara, yeah. Forever. It's yes. She could almost see his smile through the screen. Minho, then I definitely have to survive tonight. Can't leave my fiancé waiting. Amara, not your fiancé yet. Minho, soon. I promise. Soon. The meeting was set for midnight at an abandoned warehouse near the docks. Minho arrived with Do-hyun and 8 armed guards. Kim was already there, surrounded by his own men. Kang Minho, Kim said, his smile cruel. I was beginning to think you wouldn't show. You killed 4 of my men. Did you really think I'd let that slide? I thought it might teach you a lesson about expansion. About respecting boundaries. The only lesson here is about consequences. Minho stepped forward, every inch the predator. You came after mine. Now I'm coming after yours. Kim's smile faded. You're declaring war? No. I'm ending one. Minho pulled out his phone, pressed a button. Across the city, simultaneous raids began on every one of Kim's operations. Warehouses, clubs, money laundering fronts. All of them hit at once by Minho's people working in coordination with law enforcement contacts he'd spent years cultivating. Kim's phone started ringing. Then his lieutenant's phones. Chaos erupted. What did you do? Kim's face went pale. I dismantled your organization. Every location, every asset, every operation you have, it's gone. By morning, you'll have nothing left. Minho's voice was calm, deadly. This is what happens when you threaten what's mine. You're insane. You can't just. I already did. And here's what happens next. You leave Seoul. Tonight. You disappear and you never come back. You never speak my name, never think about me or anyone I care about. You become a ghost. And if I refuse, then you become an actual corpse. Minho gestured to his guards. Your choice. But choose fast. My patience ended when you killed my men. Kim looked around, seeing his empire crumbling in real time through the frantic phone calls of his lieutenants. He was beaten and he knew it. This isn't over, he spat. Yes, it is. Minho turned his back, the ultimate dismissal. You have until sunrise. After that, I stop being merciful. He walked away, leaving Kim surrounded by the ruins of everything he'd built. In the car, Do-hyun let out a breath. That was risky, but effective. He could still retaliate. He won't. He's smart enough to know when he's beaten. Minho pulled out his phone. Take me home. I have a proposal to plan. Amara was standing by the window when she heard the front door open. She spun around, heart in her throat, and there he was. Alive. Whole. Safe. She ran to him. Minho caught her, lifting her off her feet, burying his face in her neck. They held each other for a long moment, neither speaking, both just breathing. It's over, Minho finally said. Kim's leaving Seoul. It's done. You're sure? I'm sure. He pulled back, cupping her face. No more threats. No more looking over our shoulders. Just us. Just us, Amara echoed. And about that text message. You mean the one where you proposed without actually proposing? Minho smiled, that real smile that transformed his entire face. He stepped back and, to Amara's shock, actually dropped to one knee. What are you doing? What I should have done right the first time. He pulled out a box from his pocket. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. Amara Okafor, you walked into my life when I'd given up on ever feeling anything real. You smiled at me when everyone else saw a monster. You loved me when I didn't deserve it. You made me want to be better, do better, build something worth having. Tears streamed down Amara's face. I know I'm complicated. I know my world is dangerous. I know I'm asking you to take a risk on a man who comes with more baggage than anyone should have to carry. But I love you. Completely, desperately, eternally. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that loving me was the right choice. He took a shaky breath. Will you marry me? Yes, Amara whispered. Then louder, through tears and laughter. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Minho slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like coming home. Like safety and passion and promise all wrapped into one. I love you, he breathed against her lips. I love you too. They stood there, wrapped in each other, the Seoul skyline glittering beyond the windows. Somewhere out there, Kim Sejong was fleeing the city. Somewhere out there, Minho's empire continued spinning. But in this moment, none of it mattered. All that mattered was them. When? Amara asked. When what? When do you want to get married? Minho grinned. How about tomorrow? That's insane. Probably. But I've waited my entire life for you. I don't want to wait anymore. We need to plan. My family needs to be there. We need a venue, a dress, all of it. Then we'll plan. We'll do it right. He kissed her forehead. But Amara? Yeah. However long it takes, whatever you want, I'm yours. Completely and forever. Forever, she echoed. I like the sound of that. 3 months later, they stood on a beach in Jeju Island, surrounded by the people they loved. Amara's father had flown in from Chicago, tears streaming down his face as he walked his daughter down the makeshift aisle. Chioma stood as maid of honor, still slightly bewildered by how her friend's life had transformed but genuinely happy. Do-hyun was Minho's best man, looking uncomfortable and formal, but smiling nonetheless. The ceremony was simple, beautiful. As the sun set over the ocean, Minho and Amara exchanged vows they'd written themselves. I promise to see you, Amara said, her voice steady despite the tears. Not the crime lord, not the CEO, just you. The man who makes me breakfast and holds me when I'm scared and loves me like I'm the most precious thing in his world. I promise to deserve you, Minho replied. To be the man you see when you look at me. To build a life worthy of the gift you've given me. To love you with everything I have, everything I am, for as long as I live. When the officiant pronounced them married, when Minho kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning, Amara felt something settle in her chest. This was home. Not a place, but a person. The reception lasted until dawn. Dancing and laughter and joy that felt almost too big to contain. Amara's father pulled Minho aside at one point. You hurt her, he said, his voice quiet but firm. And there's nowhere you can hide that I won't find you. Minho met his eyes. If I hurt her, I'll help you find me. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I know that. Good. Then we understand each other. Yes, sir. As the sun rose over the ocean, Amara and Minho slipped away from the party. They walked along the beach, hand in hand, watching the world wake up. Happy? Minho asked. Deliriously. Amara stopped, turning to face him. You know what I was thinking about? What? That first day. When I walked into your office and you looked at me like I'd punched you. Minho laughed. You kind of did. Emotionally speaking. I had no idea my life was about to change completely. Neither did I. But I'm glad it did. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. Best smile I ever received. Best frozen stare I ever got. They stood there as the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Behind them, their life waited, complicated and beautiful in theirs. Ready to go back? Amara asked. Not yet. Let's stay a little longer. Just us and the ocean and this moment. Okay, just a little longer. But they stood there for hours, neither wanting to let go of the perfection. Eventually, they had to return to reality. To Seoul and business, and the Empire Minho was slowly transforming into something legitimate. But they did it together. 6 months into their marriage, Amara made a discovery that changed everything. She stood in the bathroom, staring at the positive pregnancy test, hands shaking. Minho, she called out. He appeared in the doorway instantly. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. She handed him the test. He stared at it, uncomprehending. Then understanding dawned, and his face transformed. Joy, fear, wonder, all of it crashing together. You're pregnant. I'm pregnant. Minho's legs seemed to give out. He sat down on the edge of the tub, still staring at the test. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, Amara confirmed, laughing and crying simultaneously. He pulled her into his lap, holding her like she might disappear. I'm going to be a father. You're going to be an amazing father. I don't know how. I never had one, not really. Then we'll figure it out together. Like we figure out everything else. Minho kissed her, soft and reverent. I love you. So much. I love you too. They sat there in the bathroom, holding each other, both terrified and thrilled by the future stretching out before them. 8 months later, Amara gave birth to a daughter they named Mina. She had Minho's eyes and Amara's smile, and from the moment he held her, Minho was completely, utterly lost. She's perfect, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. She's absolutely perfect. She is, Amara agreed, watching her husband cradle their daughter like she was made of glass. She's ours. Ours, Minho echoed. Our family. And in that hospital room, with his wife exhausted but glowing and his newborn daughter sleeping in his arms, Kang Minho finally understood what he'd been searching for his entire life. Not power. Not control. Not an empire. Just this. Just love. Just home. 2 years later, the penthouse was barely recognizable. Toys scattered across the floor. Drawings taped to the refrigerator. The sound of a toddler's laughter echoing through rooms that had once been silent and cold. Amara stood in the kitchen, making dinner while Mina helped by creating chaos with wooden spoons and pots. Minho came home from the office, his tie already loosened, exhaustion evident on his face. But when he saw them, his wife and daughter covered in flour, laughing at some private joke, all the exhaustion melted away. Appa! Mina shrieked, running to him on unsteady legs. Minho scooped her up, spinning her around. Hey, baby girl. What are you making? Cookies. Mama says I'm helping, but I think I'm just making mess. The best helpers always make the biggest messes. He kissed her forehead, then walked to Amara, pulling her in for a kiss. Hi. Hi yourself. How was work? Long boring. I missed you guys. We missed you too. They moved through the evening routine they'd built together. Dinner with Mina more on the floor than in her mouth. Bath time battles that left everyone soaked. Bedtime stories read in silly voices that made their daughter giggle. Finally, Mina was asleep, and Minho and Amara collapsed on the couch. I'm exhausted, Amara said. Me too. Minho pulled her close. And completely happy. Yeah. He kissed the top of her head. You know what I was thinking about today? What? That first smile. The one that changed everything. Amara tilted her head back to look at him. You still think about that? Every day. I think about how close I came to missing this. To staying closed off and cold and alone. And then you walked in and smiled at me like I was worth seeing. You were worth seeing. You are worth seeing. Because you see me. Minho's hand found hers, their wedding rings catching the light. 3 years ago, I didn't believe in love. Didn't believe in family or happiness or anything beyond power and control. And now I have everything. You, Mina, a life that's actually worth living. All because you smiled at me. Amara kissed him softly. Best decision I ever made. Smiling at me? Loving you. They sat there in the quiet, holding each other, their daughter sleeping peacefully down the hall. Outside, Seoul glittered with life and possibility. Minho's empire still existed, but it looked different now. Legitimate businesses. charitable foundations. A legacy he could actually be proud of, one Mina could inherit without shame. And at the center of it all was Amara, his wife, his partner, his home, the woman who'd smiled at him and saved his life. "Thank you," Minho whispered. "For what?" "For not running. For seeing something in me worth fighting for. For building this life with me. Thank you for letting me in. For trusting me. For loving me even when it scared you. Loving you is the easiest thing I've ever done." Amara snuggled closer. "Even easier than running a criminal empire?" "Infinitely easier." They laughed, the sound soft and warm in the darkness. And as they sat there, wrapped in each other, both knew that this was what happily ever after actually looked like. Not perfect. Not without struggles or challenges or fears. But real. Honest. Theirs. A crime lord who'd learned to love. A woman who'd dared to smile. And a life they'd built together, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one smile at a time. Forever started with a smile. And it would last a lifetime.